Greetings, friends, and Merry Christmas! I'm joining you today from my own home due to some travel challenges because of the weather, but I'm glad that you are joining me and that we're able to connect this way. I didn't want to miss an opportunity to wish you another Merry Christmas. It's not Christmas Day, but it is the season of Christmas. We can't put all of our joy into that one day. We need to spread this out a bit, and so wanted to take another opportunity to be sure that you were really enjoying this season of Christmas and to be able to bid you another Merry Christmas before this season is behind us. Many think that the 12 days of Christmas are the days that lead up to Christmas, but actually the 12 days of Christmas are the days following Christmas. That is what we refer to as the season of Christmastide. See, Christmas is such a joyous event. It's more than we can possibly pack into one day. And so after many weeks of preparation during that season of Advent, preparing ourselves, but also preparing our homes, preparing the church, preparing our lives for the coming of Christ, we now get a season of celebration, a festival time. In centuries ago. The season of Christmastide, or the 12 days of Christmas, begins at sundown on Christmas Eve, and really the first day of Christmastide then is Christmas Day. It ends on January 5th, because January 6th is the holiday that we are just about to arrive on this week, and that's the day of Epiphany. But before Epiphany comes, we are still living in Christmas. And so I hope that you are still enjoying the gift of Christ. You are still really pondering and considering the way that God has given of himself to come into the world for you and I. We focus on the nativity, on the peace, the love, the joy, the hope that is wrapped up into that event. We take time to celebrate with our families. In some traditions, families have given gifts each day of those 12 days of Christmas. In fact, even for us this year, we have enjoyed the slower pace of the season in these times and the ability to have a little bit of Christmas each day for many days and really enjoy the vast gift that this season is for us in our lives this year. But as we lead up now to Epiphany, we know that something else is coming, that Christmas will at some point be behind us in the calendar, and January 6th is the date that marks another phase of our Christian journey and our journey in relating with Christ. Remember, during Advent, we prepared for his coming. At Christmas, we celebrate his coming. At Epiphany, we begin the time of seeing how he is revealing himself to us here in the world. We still today refer to the term Epiphany as something that is a sort of a sudden, striking realization. We might say, we've had an Epiphany moment. And so the date, the holiday of Epiphany, has that same sense to it. It's actually officially the date, or we celebrate the date, in which the wise men, or the three kings, the Magi, made their way finally to the Christ child. Now we know in reality it likely took much longer than 12 days for them to follow this star and eventually get to Jesus. But historically in the church, we have celebrated that 12-day period as the period in which they are seeking after the child, and on Epiphany they arrive. And so the scripture for the morning of the day of Epiphany is that story. Let me share just a little bit of it for you as you consider the wise men coming to see the baby Jesus. At the time of King Herod, after Jesus was born in Bethlehem of Judea, wise men from the east came to Jerusalem asking, "Where is the child who has been born King of the Jews? For we observed his star at its rising, and have come to pay him homage." Now after they had talked with King Herod, they set out, and there ahead of them went the star that they had seen at its rising, until it stopped over the place where the child was. When they saw that the star had stopped, they were overwhelmed with joy. And entering the house, they saw the child with Mary his mother, and they knelt down and paid him homage. Then, opening their treasure chests, they offered him gifts of gold, frankincense, and myrrh. So Epiphany is the holiday that marks the coming of these three kings, or wise men, the Magi, to Jesus. But it also is a reminder of a moment where Jesus, because of his presence, overwhelms people with joy. In a sense, these folks who have traveled so far, who have been through such a journey, are now overwhelmed. They have come into the presence of the Son of God. In that sense, he has revealed himself to them, even as a baby. And so Epiphany is a season, beginning with that moment, where we experience the ways, where we remember the ways, where we hope and pray for ourselves that we will have those ways in our own lives, that Jesus reveals himself to us. I hope that these last few days of the Christmas season that we are still in are days for you that are filled with celebration, days for you to remember the gift that has come in the Nativity, even as you begin thinking of taking your Christmas decorations down on that 12th night, if you're one who celebrates that tradition, that night before Epiphany, of taking those decorations down and putting the Christmas season behind us for another year. I hope that you will still consider, as you're doing that, the ways that those things remind you of the gift of Christ coming. I hope that you will take these last few days to really celebrate, to remember the ways that as you give gifts or receive gifts, the greatest gift, of course, has been given by God, and I pray received by us in his Son, Jesus. And then on Wednesday, January 6th, as Epiphany arrives, might we all pray that God would reveal himself to us this year in a new, powerful way. Maybe that we might receive him anew in a very real way as we now go through a new journey in January and February, in the cold of winter, finding those ways that Christ is still warming our hearts with his presence. If you want to know more about the way that he is revealing himself into the world through this scripture story, be it the revelation that comes to the kings through Herod, be it the following of that star, and something perhaps for us to consider as we hope God is revealing himself to us, do check out the sermon for this morning. You'll find a post there with the scripture and message for today as well. But again, just wanted to wish you a very Merry Christmas and remind you that we are indeed still celebrating the Christmas season. Hang on to it for a few more days and then pray that God reveals himself to you at the start of Epiphany. I pray that for you and for me. Merry Christmas.